Good afternoon, everyone. Sincere apologies for the delay. We were having a lot of technical issues, and lucky for us, they were all on my computer. So we're up and running. So we will forge ahead. It's my pleasure to welcome everyone to the Cannabis Regulatory Commission's 6th meeting. As we continue to recognize and respect the significant interest from the public in the CRC's work, I want to take this time to remind everyone that public comments can be submitted to the Commission during and after this meeting in writing via our website at www.nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. All comments submitted will be shared with the CRC members. So the time is now 12:52 by my watch, and I call this meeting to order. Director Brown, can you please read the notice of the public meeting?
Absolutely, and good afternoon, everyone. Madam Chairwoman, this is a special meeting of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act. The special meeting was noticed in the Asbury Park Press, Press of Atlantic City, Bergen Record, Courier Post, and the Trenton Times. The meeting agenda was noticed in the same papers and sent to the Secretary of State and posted on the bulletin board outside the Secretary of State's office. Information regarding the virtual nature of the meeting due to the COVID-19 pandemic was posted in publications and on the CRC website. The meeting time and location has also been posted on the and agenda have been posted on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission.
Thank you, Director Brown. Ms. Hogan, can you please take roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Barker.
Present.
Commissioner Dilcid Coso.
Present.
Vice Chair Delgado.
Present.
Commissioner Nash.
Present.
Chairwoman Wayno. All members of the commission are present, and we now have a quorum.
Excellent. So today is a very special meeting for the commission. As today we will be considering the adoption of the initial set of regulations that will govern the cannabis industry. We at the CRC are very excited to share the initial rules with the public. But before we dive into the substance, our first order of business is for the commission to go into executive session so that we can discuss legal and litigation matters. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. Now, we both do believe that the executive session should take about an hour. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chairwoman, I move to go into executive session so the commission may discuss legal and litigation matters.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? And the motion passes. The commission will go into executive session. Again, for the public watching, we expect the executive session to last approximately 1 hour, given that we did start considerably late. Again, apologies for those technical issues and for the delay. We expect to resume at around 2 o'clock. We will leave the live stream running during that time and we'll return once the executive session has concluded. Thank you for your patience, and we will see you all again closer to 2 o'clock. Good afternoon. All right, we are back in business. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Technical difficulties really getting the better of us today. Well, getting the better of me because it's on my computer. My computer was like, nope, not today. But we're back in business. So the next item on today's agenda is approving the minutes of both the commission's open session and executive session that was held on July 13th, 2021. The minutes have been The minutes for both the open and executive session have been shared and reviewed by the commissioners prior to this meeting. And if there are no questions, I will ask for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes for July 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Nash, seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving both the minutes for the open and executive session for July 13th, say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? And the ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next up, we have a resolution concerning the approval of the initial rule and regulations adoption pursuant to New Jersey statute 24:6I34. We'll provide an in-depth explanation of the rules for everyone. For the members of the public who are watching this meeting and want to follow along in the draft rules, the document is posted on the CRC's website, nj.gov/cannabis. Again, that's nj.gov/cannabis. The document should be posted there for viewing. So as we get started with presenting the information about what's really in these rules, I wanted to take a moment to share how we got here. 4 months ago, the commission launched, and we knew that we had a Herculean task before us because when we started this agency, there was nothing to begin with. There was no agency, there was no infrastructure. I think it took us a week or so to get printing consistently working for staff. And one of the core pieces of the work that we had to do, one of our top priorities, was issuing rules and regulations that will govern the cannabis industry. And those regulations, ordinarily, they have to go through a very long process. There is a public draft of the regulations that has to be posted in multiple places. There is robust public comment period, and the agency also has to read through and respond to all of those comments before adopting the final language for the regulations, with any amendments if needed or warranted by the public comments that were received. Now, because the law required us to write regulations by a certain date, it gave the CRC power to establish its first set of regulations without going through the standard process. The law actually allows us to file the initial rules without public comment. But because we at the CRC recognize the value of getting input from various stakeholders, we use the public meetings and one-on-one conversations to get the critical information and insights that we needed to shape these rules. So in the last 4 months, we've held 5 and now 6 public meetings. We've heard and received comments from more than 400 individuals. We've had more than 2,500 people joining the public meetings. And even today, I believe our attendance is up at 975 individuals. And we've had more than 35 direct calls and meetings with stakeholders, individuals like municipal officials, lawmakers, service providers, other government agencies, advocacy groups, directly impacted individuals as well, and regulators from other states who shared their ideas about what New Jersey should do. And the ideas, insights, and questions and concerns raised in these forums helped us write these rules. So thank you to everyone who shared their ideas. Thank you to everyone who helped us understand how to do this work and do it right. And with that said, let us begin. With Ms. Blake, may you please present the slides? Right. So if we go to the next slide, the commission has, the mission gets its powers to issue regulations from a few sources. The Jake Honig Compassionate Use Medical Cannabis Act, the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Enforcement Assistance and Marketplace Modernization, or CREAM Act, and the regulations established by the agency. Next slide, please. So the law gives us really broad powers that we can leverage to develop and establish a strong cannabis industry here in New Jersey. Some of our functions and duties are they will involve working with people, the business owners, and folks who are seeking to become business owners, working with other agencies, but really we are in charge of crafting the rules of the road for anyone who wishes to operate or work in the cannabis industry in New Jersey. Under law, the Cannabis Regulatory Commission had to implement its first rules within 180 days after the effective date of the law, or 45 days after which, after all 5 members of the commission were appointed. The 180-day deadline is what the date that came first. So, or sorry, the later of the 2 dates. So that is the deadline for us. And that 180 day is August 21st, which is this Saturday, would have been our deadline to issue the first set of regulations for the cannabis industry. So it being August 19th, we are ahead of schedule. And so I'm very excited to share with you what we've accomplished so far. Now, these initial regulations, they will be, by law, they'll be in effect, which will likely be later this afternoon. They will be in effect for a period of up to 1 year. And these rules can be amended or readopted. We can bring in new rules into play subsequently. And that is a process that will go through the regular regulatory process that has that robust public comment period and So the law gives the Cannabis Regulatory Commission powers to establish the requirements for applying for a license, set the fees for such applications, and any other fees that are necessary and reasonable. The commission has the power to enforce restrictions to protect public health and safety. And we also have the power to impose sanctions for businesses that violate the rules. And this includes fines, suspension, or even revocation of a license. Now, just as importantly, the law does not give the CRC power to override or conflict with existing statutes, nor cannabis businesses operate, or what? Seriously?
I'll just jump in here while our chair is getting things sorted out. So as she said, the law does not give the CRC power to override or conflict with existing statutes, permit individuals to grow their own cannabis, choose where cannabis businesses operate, or require private businesses to work with or hire particular people.
Aaron, is this better? Yeah. Okay.
We can hear you again. So some focal points for the initial rules. They establish the personal use or recreational cannabis industry. They emphasize social and economic equity and safety. They outline the application process and fee structure for transparency. And importantly, they uphold the municipal authorities that as outlined in the statute itself. So in terms of what's included here, the rules cover licensing requirements for all cannabis businesses. So that's all 6 classes of licenses. They also cover complete operational requirements for cultivators, manufacturers, and retailers. Wholesalers, distributors, and delivery services, at least on the operational side, those rules will be coming in our formal proposal. I will note, however, that we have included enough here in general cannabis business requirements and in provisions related to secure transport and delivery that if we needed to get distributors and delivery services licensed and operational under these initial rules, we would be able to do that. But again, the complete operational requirements here are for cultivators, manufacturers, retailers, enabling us to get licensing started, get the market started, get product produced, and ultimately able to be retailed, and then bring in those additional licenses as soon as we are able. So importantly, the rules touch on our 2 core values, equity and safety. And we're going to start by going over equity here and the provisions that are included in these rules that address equity. So first, we provide that there is priority review, scoring, and approval for applications for cannabis businesses that we receive from target groups. And I'll talk more about who those target groups and what they are momentarily. There's a focus on market access for diverse entrepreneurs. We really thought about what we've done in the past in medical and wanted to focus on giving entrepreneurs of all shapes and sizes access to the market to really prove out their business ideas. There are low application fees and competitive licensing fees. There are protections for license holders from predatory practices that we've seen both here in New Jersey and in other markets. And most importantly, very importantly, there are community benefits here that sort of flow through once we get this market up and running and are generating revenue that can then be reinvested. In terms of priority review and license awards, these are going to be for 3 categories of businesses primarily. First, social equity business applicants. This is a definition that we created in rule. And a social equity business applicant or social equity business is a business where the majority of the owners have lived in economically disadvantaged areas, which is a term that's defined in the rules. It is an area where there's lower than average median household income and higher than average rates of uninsurance. And those individuals also have to currently be at or below 80% of median statewide income, household income, or social equity businesses applicants can be 51% or over 50% owned by individuals who have past cannabis related criminal offenses. So in an effort to really make up for past harms and that have occurred in cannabis prohibition, we want to prioritize the people who have really shouldered those burdens. And so the second prong to this are applicants who do have past cannabis related criminal offenses. They will receive priority in our application process. The second group are diversely owned business applicants. This is an umbrella category that covers state certified minority, woman, and disabled veteran owned businesses. And then lastly, Also receiving priority in our application process are impact zone businesses. And these are businesses that are either owned by, located in, or employ significant numbers of people who live in impact zones. An impact zone, which is defined in the statute, is a municipality with a large population, high unemployment rate, high number of crime or arrests for marijuana, or a combination of these. For an economically disadvantaged area, these are zip codes that are 80% of median New Jersey household income and 150% of mean health insurance uninsured rate. So for social equity businesses specifically, again, the majority ownership must have prior cannabis-related convictions or meet residency and income requirements. So specifically there, they have people will have had to have lived in one of the economically disadvantaged areas as defined in rule for 5 of the last 10 years and currently be at or below 80% of the median household income in the state of New Jersey. These applicants and businesses will be prioritized in the application process. It's also important to note the conditional licensure process. This is set up in statute. There are conditional licenses and then there are standard annual licenses. And conditional licenses are an opportunity for entrepreneurs to really get into the market without potentially outlaying as much capital as they would otherwise. And so the way we've set up this process is that in order to get a conditional license, you don't need site control or municipal approval, but you do need an identified location because the conditional license phase only lasts for up to about 120 days. Once approved, though, and conditional licenses have income thresholds as well that are set in statute. So people who are applying for conditional licenses have to have made below $200,000 in the previous tax year if filing singly, or $400,000 if filing jointly. So those, if you meet that criteria, you can apply for a conditional license. But once approved, provided you keep that majority ownership that remain from the application, we will allow conditional licenses to add new owners and financial sources, understanding that in order to get operational, they will need capital and they will need money. And in that phase, they will also be required to gain site control, municipal approval, and some additional things. Conditional licenses for all types of businesses are going to be prioritized in the application process as well. Micro businesses are businesses, a cannabis business with 10 or fewer employees and a facility space of 2,500 square feet or less. It's important to note here that this is another category of business, and there are cannabis business can be a micro business regardless of what license type they're applying for. So you could be a micro business cultivator, a micro business manufacturer, a micro business retailer, a micro business delivery service, micro business wholesaler, or micro business distributor. You just have to meet these criteria and how we outline them in rule. They will also receive priority review as they submit applications. Moving on through equity in the rules, we really wanted to focus on ease of access to the market. And so these are really highlighted by 3 provisions. First, rolling applications. So when we're accepting applications, they will be reviewed as they're received, but applications received by those priority groups that I just outlined will be moved to the front of the line. So basically, if a social equity business say applies 6 months after we start accepting applications, they will still get moved to the front of the line, but you'll still have to wait for other social equity businesses to be reviewed, scored, and potentially approved. But nonetheless, they will move to the front of the queue. With conditional licenses as well, conditional licenses will be prioritized over annual licenses so that folks who come in the conditional route will have an opportunity to get their business started, meet those additional requirements, get a site, get municipal approval, and then come back to us, prior to really some of those other types of licenses getting reviewed. Conditional license will get a head start once we open up this licensure process. And then there are fee and priority considerations for micro businesses. Micro businesses by statute will pay half the application fees of full-size businesses. Additionally, wanted to highlight low fees. So full application fees are only going to be due for successful applicants. So this is because we don't want applicants to have to outlay a lot of money unless they know they're going to be successful. And so for an applicant that submits an incomplete application and they have to go back and amend it, the fees are going to be relatively low. In fact, as low as $100 to submit an application. Annual license fees as well are competitive. They start at as low as $1,000 for some micro businesses, and they can range as high as $50,000 for a very large cultivator. But they are tied to the size of the business. They are competitive, and they are reflective of the goal that we want businesses to be able to get into the market and then grow as consumer demand develops. Just to go over the total fees here, application submission fees, initial application submission fees run from $100 to $400. Successful applicants will be required to pay the full application fee. And so that runs from $400 to $1,600, depending on the type of license applied for and the size. And then, so total application fees range from $500 to $2,000. For context, in medical right now, application fees are flat across the board at $2,000. Now you have to have additional money if you're potentially successful, but here the max you're going to pay in application fees is $2,000, and you can actually pay significantly less. I will note that for expanded alternative treatment centers, there is a certification fee. So alternative treatment centers in medical cannabis are they're currently operating in the medical market. They by statute are able to, once we adopt these rules, then essentially certify to the commission that they have enough product to be able to start selling adult use cannabis, to certify to us that operationally they can handle both their patients and additional recreational cannabis customers. And ultimately get a significant market advantage. And so reflective of that, the certification fee for an expanded alternative treatment center ranges from $100,000 all the way up to $1 million if you're an alternative treatment center with cultivation, manufacturing, as well as 3 dispensaries. Annual licensing fees for cultivators range from $5,000 to $50,000 for standard businesses. That is based on size, based on our canopy tiers that we've set in regulation here. Micro business cultivators are $1,000 on an annual basis. For manufacturers, depending on size, it's $20,000 or $30,000. So essentially up to 10,000 square feet, it's a $20,000 annual fee. Up to greater than 10,000, it's a $30,000 annual fee. Micro businesses which meet the micro business statutory requirements and regulatory requirements are $1,000. Retailers, a retailer license is $10,000 annually. Micro business retailers, $1,000 annually. And testing labs are $4,000 annually, and there are not micro businesses in testing labs. There are only a standard license. So, as we've talked about in previous meetings, one of our goals is to ensure that patients are continually prioritized and taken care of, even as personal use or recreational cannabis sales are rolled out to the public. So ATCs that do expand into the recreational market will be required to prove adequate patient supply before being licensed for recreational business. They're also going to have to demonstrate that they can operationally serve recreational and patients without impacting the access for patients. If licensed, they're going to have to provide ongoing priority and accommodation for patients before recreational users. And we're going to look very closely at inventory and operations to make sure that those 2 points are met, and the third one met on an ongoing basis, that we are not willing to have patients wait longer for their medicine because of the launch of recreational cannabis. And so we're going to be extremely strict on these provisions. Looking at community benefits, the rules set up the mechanism for the commission to authorize the social equity excise fee, which was created by the legislature in the statute. And what the social equity excise fee is a fee on cultivation that can be raised as retail, depending on the end retail price of cannabis, that can then be used to raise money that will be deposited in a fund and can be distributed to fund socioeconomic improvements in impact zones. There are also commercial protections for entrepreneurs, guardrails against exploitative business contracts and predatory financing agreements. So, one of the things we've seen in this industry, just from talking to other regulators, certainly from our own due diligence, is that there's obviously a lot of money at stake in these markets, and we have seen some predatory practices and have seen efforts by companies to, whether it's skirt caps on licenses or otherwise conceal ownership. So we have set up regulations in the that really guard against those exploitative business contracts and prevent businesses from trying to conceal ownership, trying to sort of use some of the social equity provisions that we've set up for their own benefit when they don't meet them. And so that falls into two categories, really: management services agreements and financial source agreements. There's protection for minors. The law is very clear. Personal use cannabis is only available for people 21 and over. So minors will not be permitted to enter into dispensaries. Anybody entering the dispensary is going to have to be 21 or over. We have strict rules on packaging. Packaging will have to be childproof. It'll have to be childproof before opened initially, and then for resealable packages, they will need to be childproof even upon resealing. There's restrictions on package designs and labels. No cartoons, no trademarked image, no imagery or statements that could be false or deceptive. We're going to have warning statements on all packages, and then severe consequences for dispensaries that violate safeguards or sell to minors. We also have built into these rules significant safety provisions to protect consumers against harmful substances. So it seems like a lifetime ago, but before COVID, we did have a whole, there was a huge issue with vaping-related lung injuries around the country. Certainly that was happening in New Jersey. It was happening everywhere in the country. It's largely found to be coming from illegal market vape cartridges, but nonetheless, we did our due diligence as part of that, and we looked at data and research that was done that came out of the Valley crisis, and really put that research and what we learned into these rules. So there's a ban on additives that have been determined to be harmful. We require that on labels, there's clear, easy to understand information on ingredients. There's limits on what can be added to vape cartridges. So, with vape cartridges, we really want to see that they're, we want to make sure that it's a product that people can feel safe when purchasing. Nonetheless, we do understand that there are some instances, particularly with vaping, where there's still a lot of questions. So, we want to make sure also that consumers themselves are empowered to make a good decision about what types of products they want to purchase. So to dive into the Valley learning specifically, we have a temperature limit on vapes sold by cannabis businesses. The reason for this is there's research to show that terpenes can in fact turn into harmful substances when heated to extremely high temperatures. So terpenes are, an important part of the cannabis plant. They're an important thing for certainly, thinking to medical. There's more research needed to understand exactly how they can be beneficial to people in a medical context. Provide flavor, scent, but there's research that shows when you heat them to extremely high temperatures, they can be harmful. And so for vapes that are sold by cannabis businesses, there's a temperature limit to really protect consumers against those those issues. Again, limits on additives, so no vitamin E acetate, no PEG or PG. Things that have been found to be potentially harmful are not going to be allowed in these products. And then we have throughout the rules high standards for manufacturers that are making extracts and other manufactured products. The rules also touch on municipal partnerships. I think back when we heard from municipalities, I had mentioned, and others spoke on it, that we intend to certainly honor what's in the statute, and we know that we have to be deferential to municipalities to a certain degree here, and so we outline in these rules what municipal authority covers. And so municipalities, they can enact zoning regulations and approvals of cannabis businesses with reasonable fees. They can regulate the number and kind of cannabis businesses licenses that are authorized in their borders. They can restrict business operations like opening hours, and they can act a 2% transfer tax. Additionally, they have the ability to weigh in on our selection process with preference for particular applicants over others. Importantly, licensed applicants are required by our application process to have local support, zoning approval. And so we will not be issuing a license to an applicant that does not have that, to an annual license applicant that does not have that. They need both local support as defined in statute and zoning approval, and those are included in our rules as well. Municipalities are able to pass and update their ordinances. So, we understand that there are municipalities that have made decisions without having seen our rules. So, we make very clear, certainly from our perspective, we have no issue with them updating their ordinances now that they get to see the full slate of what we propose and what we intend to set for the launch of this industry and this market. So a couple of things that municipal authority does not include. It does not include restricting delivery of cannabis items into their city limits. So while they can restrict whether or not a delivery service operates out of a location in their municipality, they can't restrict a delivery service or a retailer delivering to consumers within their limits. And they can't restrict transports of cannabis routed through their jurisdiction. So again, they could certainly limit or ban or otherwise, if a distributor is in their municipality or located in their municipality, but they can't restrict the transports of cannabis either done by a distributor, a wholesaler, or another license type that gets routed through their jurisdiction. So looking ahead, as our chair mentioned, this is step one, and it was a big step one. This was a lot of work went into this, and the fact that we've been able to do this in 4 months is, it's a testament to, I think, everybody's hard work, particularly the commissioners. With that, it's important to note that it's going to be an iterative process going forward. So we have these rules that are effective upon filing. We are then going to start immediately, and in fact, work has already started on our full rules, which will be filed and go through the normal process. And these will include the full rules on delivery, distribution, and wholesaling, and some other things that are not included in this round. And then there's also the preparation to accept applications. So if you look at the rules, you'll note that it references a notice of application acceptance. So that's really as far as accepting applications, that is the next step here. There will be a notice of application acceptance. It will appear in the New Jersey Register, and that will put everybody on notice for when applications can be submitted, the exact criteria. Our rules are very detailed on what you need for an application, but it'll be spelled out very clearly in the notice of application acceptance with all the details you need, all the information you need in order to fill out and accept an application.
Thank you, Director Brown, and thank you for taking over the presentation. Somebody somewhere clearly does not want us to do these rules, but that must mean that we're doing something right. So thank you, Director Brown, and thank you to the staff for assisting, getting me set up on another staff member's computer that is working much better. So yes, as Director Brown mentioned, from here, we'll be engaging in our formal rule proposal process. And while the commission did everything it could to incorporate the ideas, anticipated concerns, and questions from others into these rules that have been developed. Fear not, these rules will also be shifted over they will also be copied into the formal rule proposal. So folks should understand that there is still an opportunity to suggest any changes that might need to be made to these initial rules, and the space for making those suggested changes will be in the formal rule proposal process. So with that all said, it's a lot of information, but I think we've done a substantial job in really trying to break things down into digestible pieces. Again, if you want to follow along or take a look at the rules on your own time, they are available on our website at nj.gov/cannabis. If you go to the resources tab at the bottom of the pop-up menu, you'll click on rules, and there you'll find the full rule packet, which is I believe like more than 160 pages, and a summary as well. We've prepared that for folks just to have something a little bit more digestible. So with that, do I have a motion to adopt the resolution concerning the approval of the initial rule and regulations adoption pursuant to New Jersey Statute 24:6I-34?
Madam Chairwoman, I move to adopt the resolution concerning the approval of the initial rule and regulations adoption pursuant to N.J.S.A 24:6I-34.
Moved by Commissioner Barker. Do I have a second?
I second this motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. Commissioners, when you do cast your vote, feel free to add any remarks or comments. But Ms. Hogan, can you please call the vote?
Absolutely. Commissioner Del Cid-Coso,
Yes. Before I cast my vote, I just want to say a few words. Definitely a lot of information, but it's good information. I know this is information that many municipalities, many consumers, many entrepreneurs were looking for. And that just shows our commitment for establishing a safe and equitable market in New Jersey. And I do want to commend all of the work from my colleagues. They have ensured that these regulations were not only met in a timely manner, but that they were also reflective of our mission and the diversity of the state. It was not an easy task. As Chairwoman Wayno said earlier, we had countless conversations with other states, subject matter experts, and advocates in the industry. And the expertise that each of the commissioners brought to the table helped move the needle forward and got these initial rules to the finish line. So we heard the concerns from the public, and I commend the public members who testified during our public hearings, and we took those comments very seriously. We heard issues like the financial burden of leasing a site, the lack of access to capital, a very serious one, a convoluted application process, high application fees, and the list goes on. As we lay out the foundation of this new industry, I am proud of the work of these initial rules that emphasizes in creating a fair market. I believe that economic development is community development, which is why we created a social equity business application designation. As Executive Director Brown mentioned earlier, these applications will be prioritized during the application review process. So our focus should not just be getting their applications or these people in, their foot on the door, but we have to make sure that we are creating sustainability among these businesses, which are going to benefit our communities. As we know, only 2% of businesses among nearly 30,000 nationwide are Black owned. That is concerning. This is the first of many steps, and our job is not done. As the cannabis industry continues to evolve and we move forward with writing the formal rules, we will strive for additional equity pathways to bring more women, veterans, and minorities into this market. And lastly, our focus is also on educating the public. And that is why we're going to be partnering with community-based groups so that they can help us understand the needs right from the source. And we've heard from some already, from some of the stakeholders that we've had conversations with, that there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of cultural and generational stigma. And again, that's very critical to us to make sure that we understand the needs of our communities. Thank you. And my vote is yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next up, Vice Chair Delgado.
Vice Chair, you're on mute.
Thank you, Erin. Just collecting my thoughts here. In my opening remarks at the first public hearing this past April, I said there would be many competing interests and many things on the line. But with determination and common sense, I felt that this commission would be able to develop a successful, transparent, and equitable regulatory model for both consumers and also the marketplace. Today, we're here to adopt these rules that Chairwoman Waynu, my fellow commissioners, Executive Director Jeff Brown, and his staff have diligently worked on. Will these rules satisfy every interest I spoke about back in April? The honest answer is clearly no. Some people will say we went too far. Some people will say we did not go far enough. For example, factors of public interest like home grow were beyond our control. The existing legislation does not allow the CRC to act. Whereas rules like packaging, licensing fees, labor provisions, and others too numerous to mention here, have taken the CRC staff and the commission's many hours of passionate discussions, revisions, and compromises. I personally will defend the sincerity and good faith effort of the staff and the commissioners to the utmost because we worked. For me, the most important objective of these past 180 days for this commission and its staff has been to get the adult use cannabis market up and running in a safe and equitable manner, to provide certainty, clarity, and confidence so businesses can transition and new ones begin operating. I believe we've done that. If we need to change or adapt or innovate in the future, we will do that. So my answer is yes, to adopt these regulations. And I want to thank you and the commissioners and the staff for the work you've all done. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Nash.
Thank you, Erin. First, I would like to thank Executive Director Brown, Chairwoman Waynu, the CRC staff, and fellow commissioners for their work in crafting 161 impactful pages of rules in a mere 4 months and setting up and staffing a commission. It's just phenomenal. Also, I want to thank you, the public, for your comments, many of which have been interwoven into these rules. So again, thank you. There are important issues that must still be addressed as we move forward. However, I believe that the regulations introduced today offer a unique framework and platform. These rules allow New Jersey to develop a business model that produces necessary revenues while creating thousands of new jobs and training opportunities, especially for those who have been left out of the workplace, and labor protections for those individuals. These are really important. I have worked in the field of reentry for many years, and I know the difficulties one faces when they have a criminal background. And I don't know how people expect someone to turn their lives around when they can't even make a living wage or build generational wealth by having a business. And that practice stops here today. These rules, they kick that barrier to the curb. We encourage people that have been harmed by the war on drugs and legacy operators to apply. The legacy operators have the experience, they have the knowledge. You need to come in, expand your customer base, and teach the regulated market. So the adoption of these initial rules today, it's just the beginning. It's very exciting. There's more work that needs to be done, and I look forward to seeing the industry grow and thrive in New Jersey.
And Commissioner Nash, how do you cast your vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Just got to make sure we ask that one question. Thank you, Commissioner Nash. And Ms. Hogan, before we come to me, we'll actually circle back up to Commissioner Barker. I think things we just got mixed up in the shuffle of offices.
I apologize. Commissioner Barker.
Thank you, Erin. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Executive Director Brown, the entire CRC staff, and my fellow commissioners. This has not been an easy process by any means, and I'm grateful for the dedication and commitment to the historical task ahead of us. Major thank you to the public, to you, for staying involved in the process to make sure that your voices were heard and your concerns were included in our cannabis industry rules. We listened to you and we took your advice, along with other dedicated stakeholders, elected officials, legacy participants, medical patients and physicians, associations, and advocacy groups, among others. Thank you to the regulators in other states for setting up blueprints and programs that we could tailor to New Jersey, and for your ideas and guidance. We know, as Commissioner Delgado stated, everyone may not be satisfied and there is still more work to be done. To that extent, know that we welcome that challenge. As Chairwoman Wainu and Executive Director Brown noted earlier, we really have worked diligently to prioritize tangible opportunities for those from social equity, businesses, impact zones, and diversely owned, economically disadvantaged areas, and to provide rules that will reflect the diversity of our state and our stated goals. We look forward to continuing to work with all parties, the legislature, to improve the framework and ability of our industry to level the playing field and offer access to necessary resources and medicine, namely through the ability for licensees to receive economic incentives and home grow, among other considerations. We also look forward to continuing to work with agencies, advocacy groups, legacy participants, organizations, and municipalities to align our priorities and programs so that there are seamless and fair opportunities in the industry throughout the great Garden State that we call home. And last but not least, we look forward to continuing to work with you, the public, to hear your thoughts and ideas about the rules and any changes or ideas that you think will make them even stronger. Know that as we advance the cannabis industry here in New Jersey, we will continue our work to prioritize proper, secure access for patients as we move towards offering personal use. We will continue our work to make the marketplace safe and provide necessary educational materials to protect the youth. And as you heard Commissioner N.J.S.A share some statistics, we will continue our work here at the CRC to ensure that those most harmed by the failed war on people, those from historically and socioeconomically disadvantaged communities, are able to benefit from this significant opportunity. With that said, Madam Chairwoman, I vote to move the rules forward. Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Parker.
Thank you, Commissioner. I apologize for passing over you once again.
Oh, no problem.
Chairwoman Wei New.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan. It's been a long road to get here. And for many, really too many people, it's been a decades-long effort to push the state of New Jersey to abandon its prohibitionist policies, legalize cannabis, and establish sensible regulations to set up a strong, safe, regulated marketplace. And we're finally taking that final step today. And so I really must acknowledge and give thanks to all of the people without whom we would not be here today. Starting first and foremost with all of the people who showed us that cannabis was not what we were told it was. For all of those individuals whose lives were affected, thank you. For all of you who shared your stories and showed why people should care about legalization as a core human issue, thank you. To the legislature and the advocates and the government officials who helped shape the law, thank you. To Governor Murphy and his administration for the unfettered support of getting this done, no matter what, thank you. And really, with the commission and its staff, Executive Director Jeff Brown, Noah Mamber, Colin Emerald, and 8 folks in the AG's office, Jackie D'Alessandro, Chris Riggs, Paul Urbish, folks in the Governor's Authorities Unit, Lauren LaRusso, Nathan Russo, Brian Wilton, other staff in the Governor's office, Chief Counsel Parmal Garg, Lee Kelsey O'Connell, Kate McDonald, John Butler. So there are too many to name. But really, everyone here at the CRC has put in blood, sweat, and tears to get to this place. You have all sacrificed a lot to get here. You sacrificed time with your families, suffered through personal illness and illness among your family members. And those sacrifices, I want to acknowledge and lift up those sacrifices because of your work. We're here today and we are cementing some great progress for the state of New Jersey. I first started getting involved in the legalization issues as a policy counsel with an advocacy organization. And I was driving up and down the state trying to convince people why they should care about this issue. And now to finally get to take those policies that we had pushed so hard for and carry them across the actual finish line is something that I do not take for granted. It's an experience I am honored to have. And I am really deeply honored to be working with all of my fellow commissioners and executive director, because without you, this would not be as strong as it is, as it truly is. And I know we will only go forward and build upon the regulations from here. So I'm excited to bring it forward and excited to keep going with you all. And with that, I would vote yes.
Thank you, Chairwoman. The resolution passes. Thank you all.
So thank you. Next we have public comments period. The commission would like to remind you that you can submit comments both during and after this meeting in writing via our website, nj.gov/cannabis. And I want to remind everyone that even though we have adopted these initial regulations, our work has not stopped, and the opportunity to weigh in and provide feedback has not ended. These rules and regulations will be copied into the formal rule proposal process that will be forthcoming. And so people can have their voices heard in that forum. So as we dive into our public comments period, please note that comments, we want to make sure that we fit in as many people who have signed up to speak. I believe there were 125 people or so, but we will hear from those individuals who had signed up to speak in the order that they signed up. So as indicated on our website, and as we do in every public meeting with the CRC, speakers during this afternoon's open session will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and concise during your comments. Again, we want to fit in everyone who wants to share their thoughts. So Ms. Blake, Ms. Blake will call out the names of our speakers. When it is your turn to speak, she'll ask you to unmute yourself. And if you're dialing in on a phone, you'll press *6 to unmute yourself when told to do so. One last note, in order for our staff to unmute individuals who did sign up to speak, your first and your full name and your phone number must appear on Zoom the same way that you registered to speak. So please make sure that your name matches the name matches what you used to sign up. If you need to change your name on the Zoom platform, you can do so by going to finding your name among the participants list and renaming yourself that way. If you have trouble with that, then logging out of the Zoom and then coming back in, you should be prompted to provide a full name. If you're joining us by phone, the phone number from which you're calling must match the phone number you used to sign up. Again, if you don't make sure that your name or phone number match, we will not be able to correctly identify you as a speaker. And so we want to make sure people have the tools to really make to share their thoughts. So Ms. Blake, would you please call our first speakers?
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, please make sure that your name matches the way you registered. I will be calling 5 names at a time. And if you would raise your hand, I will be able to call on you. First name is Lincoln Grattan and Charles Gormley, Mark Dinglestead, Charles Williams, and Carrie C. Wiles. That is Lincoln Grattan, Charles Gormley, and there were a lot of our hands raised, so I'm going to lower everybody's hands down so that I can see the people whose names are called. So I'm going to call the names again and ask the people whose names I just called to raise their hands. Lincoln Grattan, Charles Gormley, Mark Dinglestead, Charles Williams, Carrie C. Wiles. Okay, I see Carrie Wiles. I'm going to invite you to speak at this time.
Hi, afternoon. Is the audio good?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Director Brown, Madam Chairwoman, the Vice Chair, and all other, and all those on the CRC. So I'm the founder and owner of Essence Greenery, a cannabis company seeking both a cultivation and manufacturing license. And I'm a disabled veteran, and I'm a minority. So as I try to put myself in a position to apply for a license, gaining access to municipal and city officials has been difficult. Over the past 8 months, I've only been able to sit with 2 officials from 2 cities, which I will not mention here.
there's a very real barrier that is currently facing small companies such as myself with all these with all these cities that have already made up their minds as far as who they're going to support inside of their cities. And I've been scrolling through the documents on the website, and it's amazing to see the rules and that they are going to promote good, equitable stance in the marketplace. And I would just like to thank each of the members on the commission for their hard work. Although I've been able to pull together some of my money in order to make a bid for a license, access to a significant amount of capital is a very real barrier for companies such as myself. I am nowhere near the level of those large MSOs and all the firms stacked with investors. But in closing, just let me say that I understand that there's nothing the CRC can do about that or to stop the landlords who are going to raise leases because of all the businesses, or stopping cities from charging local fees just to be in the city, which is just, I mean, it's amazing and blowing my mind. Or to keep those cities from engaging in biases as far as all these businesses goes. But what you
Mr. Wiles, I'm sorry, you have 30 seconds.
Yes, and I'll close. Just by saying that what you do control is the licensing process in the state. That more or less is a silver lining for companies like mine that are trying to get a license. And it's evident in the rules, and I do commend you. The ball is in your court to follow fair practices in this initial phase of licensing to ensure a true and economic marketplace. So I want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to combing through all these rules and putting forth my application. Thank you.
The next speaker up will be Mark Dinkelstead.
Hello.
Go ahead, Mr. Dinkelstead.
Oh, good afternoon. Congratulations on that yes vote that I just heard. I never thought I would see the day. I want to speak about doctors. I'm a medical patient. Over the past 3 years, I tell my doctors about the success of medical marijuana with me, and they look at me like I almost have two heads. It's clear to me that doctors are uninformed or just don't want to know. A Washington University report a few years ago reports that 90% of medical colleges don't talk about cannabis or the endocannabinoid system. I have the link in my comments I sent previously. I'm encouraging you to somehow get New Jersey medical schools to add it as part of their curriculum, and also have doctors learn about it during continuing education. That's all I have. I welcome any comments or questions. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Dinkelstead. And next up, I see here Adam Grattan, which I assume it's Lincoln Grattan.
Yes.
Let me go ahead.
Okay. Hi. I had spoken last time a little bit about who I was and the barrier of entry. I had done a little bit more research and finding out that barrier of entry with real estate is another big issue with the social equity part of this program. As you had heard from the last time I had spoken, I wanted to have a smoke lounge, and basically the barrier of entry is essentially leasing a building and having the funds out for that building, and subsequently having product and all of that stuff needed to set yourself up. That barrier of entry is going to be proven to be difficult for someone in my standing, who's been affected with the war on drugs, petty marijuana charges, whatever have you, being followed from one county to another county by police officers, thinking that I had drugs on me when I didn't. So it's it's something that I really want to be a part of, but unfortunately, just with the money barrier, I feel like this is going to be a little bit harder to accomplish. I work a 9-to-5 job essentially. I'm on the poverty line. I mean, I feel like money is just really going to be an issue as far as leasing and having monies for said building before I could even set up or sell or anything like that. I don't know if there's any other ways that we could figure this out and make it a little bit easier for people on the social equity program to access building requirements or whatever have you, zoning, all of that stuff. It just seems to be a little bit of an issue. I don't know if we can clarify it a little bit more, maybe showing and stating statistics on how money could be allocated to accomplish said thing. I did not get an email, so I had a prepared speech. I'm sorry, I'm literally in the middle of a car, so I'm just riffing right now. But when I get home, I will submit everything already. I thank you guys for at least listening to me, and honestly, you guys are doing a great job with the hard job that is presented in front of you with getting the rules and regulations ahead and starting everything. So I want to thank you guys, as an African-American male who hopefully will be a cannabis entrepreneur. So thank you guys. Thank you very, very much for doing what you did. This is a happy day for me. Very, very happy.
Thank you, Mr. Gratchen. The next 5 names are Darren Chandler, Zach Gatson, Hugh Giordano, Robert Devine. That's Darren Chandler, Zach Katzen, Hugh Giordano, and Robert Devine. If you hear your name, please raise your hand. Again, please make sure that your name on my screen matches the name you've registered for, or I will not be able to identify you. The first name up is Zach Katzen. Mr. Katzen, go ahead.
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak today, and thank you for all your work. I'm a part of the Atlantic City Advisory Cannabis Committee, and I know the work that we've entailed and we've done, and so I can't even imagine what you've had to endure. Just obviously a lot of information to go through and sort through. No, it's not necessarily a Q&A, but it would be nice to possibly get some clarifications on certain things that were spoke about. One of the issues they talked about was the social equity excise fee to raise money that can fund socioeconomic improvements in impact zones. And I just had a question on whether or not that money is going to be given directly to the municipality so that they can direct it in the way they need to, or if it's going to be going into a general fund that will then be distributed how the CRC or the state sees fit. One of the other questions I had was in regards to priority for medical patients. I know you stated that they're going to be very strict in making sure that these dispensaries have product and upfront before they engage in sales to recreational markets. Just wondering and I know you said there would be strict monitoring as it continues. Wondering what penalties or will be in place, or what accountability will actually be issued against dispensaries that fail to meet that criteria or meet that mark. Will they be held accountable financially? Another question was in regards to limits on what can be added to vape cartridges. Obviously, that's amazing. Bans on additives, that's amazing too. what levels of testing or what requirements are going to be done to the actual cartridges are going to be sold, because we have seen in the marketplace that some of the substandard manufacturing for the actual cartridges have caused contamination in the product itself. So while we're totally happy that you're going to be making sure that the product itself inside is free of all contaminants, we'd really love to make sure that the actual product holding the extract is free of contaminants as well. So it'd be nice to know if there's going to be some level of testing or standard set for the equipment that's then sold. And I was a little bit just confused about the temperature limits on vapes sold by cannabis businesses. Typically, concentrates are turned into vapor and consumed by the consumer at home through their own methods.
I'm sorry, Mr. Katzen, you have 30 seconds.
Sure, and just wasn't sure exactly how you were going to limit the temperature that an aftermarket battery or someone at home could use on a vape product. So just a little bit of clarification on those issues. But thank you overall for all your work, and I'm looking forward to reading through the full rules and regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Katzen. Our next speaker will be Darren Chandler. Go ahead, Mr. Chandler.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
How you doing? My name is Darren Chandler Jr. I have spoken before. I am a 2019 social equity applicant for the medical RFA. First, I want to congratulate the CRC for their hard work. I believe the initial rules reflect that you have listened to the public and are doing what you can to make this a very fair market. And I am very happy and elated to see what happens in the future. But I still want from the CRC is more of a clear timeline. There still hasn't been a word on when the 2019 RFA is going to be awarded. And also, I think it would probably be best to give a timeline on when the licenses the process will be opened up, so everyone that is aspiring to get into this industry is best prepared. I think we have to set people's expectations together. We need to set people's expectations a little bit better, because that's the best way to do business. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Our next person up will be Hugh Giordano.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Can hear you, go ahead.
Excellent. My name is Hugh Giordano, and I am a labor representative for the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW. I first want to thank the entire commission for their hard work. Commissioner Waynu, Vice Chair Delgado, and the Commissioner Del Cid Caso, Commissioner Nash, and Commissioner Barger. Thank you. You've worked hard. I've been seeing it. Everybody's been seeing it. Thank you for making workers' rights part of the rules and regulations. It's good to see that New Jersey and the commission are following through with their guarantee that equity and workers' rights are the same conversation. And in fact, I just want to share a couple stats. It's been a long day. I'm excited about it. It's important because I want to, till my last dying breath on this earth, I will make sure that social equity, economic justice, and workers' rights are in the same conversation. It's going to be. And I want to make sure that we see that in unionized facilities, the New York State, OSHA, did a big investigation and found out that a supermajority of workplace incidents happened in non-union facilities. On top of that, women's rights, 78 cents on the dollar is what women get paid to men. But in unionized facilities, it's 94 cents to the dollar. And we're not there yet, but we're going to keep going. In fact, it's found that the hourly wage of folks in union facilities, specifically women, are 23% higher. And for African Americans and people of color, it's 20 to 50% higher for wages and benefits in a unionized facility. In fact, you're 50% more likely to have a retirement plan in a unionized facility. So social equity and safety, which are the two main pillars of the CRC, on the emblem itself, workers' rights are both of those issues. And I hope, and I'm really glad that labor peace, project labor agreements are going to be part of that, because learning a trade, having safe work environments, getting a fair wage, being able to take care of their family, and with healthcare and dental and vision are social equity issues. And I think it's important for the CRC to be aware that we are a bona fide labor union. I'm glad that's in there as well. There are shell unions and company unions out there. Company unions are illegal under the National Labor Relations Act, and these shell unions will never deliver what equity is, and that's a collective bargaining agreement. And we must be aware of that. The UFCW is under the AFL-CIO jurisdiction, the official labor union. And we hope that you'll look at workers' rights as a major pillar, specifically MSOs that fight workers' rights in other states. If they fight workers' rights in Illinois, if they fight workers' rights in Massachusetts, if they fight workers' rights in Arizona, they're going to do it here in New Jersey. They're going to try to find every loophole to deceive the law. And I hope the CRC will be aware of that. There are some good employers here already in New Jersey.
Mr. Giordano, I'm sorry, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. There are some great employers here in New Jersey already, and we look forward to working with good employers. We look forward to helping the working class. Workers matter. The working class and the dispensaries matter. Seed to sale, medical and adult use, and they deserve fair wages. And we're willing, and also on the record, if you're a micro license, we got your back too. Working class people and small business owners are the same thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next 5 names are Timothy Riley, Stephen Rogers, Kendall Sankar, Jack Payne, and Michelle Molsky. That's Timothy Riley, Stephen Rogers, Kendall Sankar, Jack Payne. I'm looking for those names, and Michelle Molsky. I'm looking for those names now. Are any of those individuals here? We have Timothy Riley, Stephen Rogers, Kendall Sankar, Jack Payne, and Michelle Molsky. Not seeing any of those individuals. I'm moving on to the next 5. Chirali Patel, Corey Dishman, Charles Penn, Chelsea Duffy, and Dr. Monique Hamilton. Again, the names are Chirali Patel, Corey Dishman, Charles Penn, Chelsea Duffy, and Dr. Monique Hamilton. If any of those individuals are here, please raise your hands. I see Chirali Patel. I invite you to speak now.
Thank you, CRC, commissioners. Today's an amazing day. I know you guys have put in a lot of work into crafting these interim rules and regulations, and I'm going to spend some time to go over the 160 pages before I give real comments, but just at a surface level, earlier you guys had mentioned about the municipalities being able to set up ordinances like we've seen, and they're allowed to set up local fee structures. I think this is where it becomes really difficult for micro businesses and social equity applicants, because even if the CRC fees are affordable, some of the municipalities' fees are not, and that can preclude them from applying in the first place. I think that's something, so whether there's a checks and balances that the CRC is doing or approving the ordinances when it comes to these fees, that's definitely something to consider. And I'm not sure if you guys spoke to this, but there should be a distinct application specifically for micro businesses and social equity applicants, because completing an application itself is costly, and many of the providers and consultants are not offering sliding scales, but rather just a flat fee, which is alarming, especially when you don't even know what the application looks like. So people are just, signing up. So that's something to consider. And given that it's going to be a while before the adult use tax revenue is collected to put into the social equity programs, maybe there's a way to use the medical tax revenue to help some of the smaller players get access to the capital that they need to apply in the first place. That's all for now. I really appreciate you, and I'll follow up with written comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Dr. Monique Hamilton. I want to remind everyone that if your name does not match how you registered, I won't be able to tell if you are somebody that's on the registration list, and I won't be able to call you. Miss Dr. Hamilton, you may go ahead. Hello. Dr. Hamilton, you may go ahead. Dr. Hamilton, you may go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dr. Monique Hamilton. I am board certified in internal medicine. I've worked in primary care for St. Barnabas Hospital in Bronx, New York, Hackensack University Medical Center, Mountainside Hospital in Montclair, and private practice in Englewood, New Jersey. My experience is significant in treating chronic conditions. I am the co-founder and lead physician for the Dr. Moni Hamby Medical Center, run DMMC. The first DMMC is located in South Orange, New Jersey, and we are planning to open additional locations throughout New Jersey. The DMMC provides medical marijuana certification certs for patients with qualifying conditions. Certs are 4 visits within a year to maintain a bona fide relationship, a requirement under the New Jersey Medical Marijuana Program, NMP. We also offer discounts for seniors, disabled veterans, and low-income applicants. Also, the DMMC provides lifestyle modification pods for modifying lifestyle habits. This includes plant-based eating, exercise, and overall integrative health and wellness services such as massage therapy, yoga, Reiki, and acupuncture. There are also discounts available for mods. Lastly, the DMMC conducts cannabis education workshops at senior centers, veterans hospitals or groups, classrooms, facilities, etc. The DMMC offers certs, mods, and workshops. Please visit us at drmonihammy.com to learn more. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Monihammy. Email us at info@drmonihammy.com. Educating the patient, person, and population is essential. Cannabis education is a pillar in the DMC. I am co-founder of the New Jersey Cannabis Virtual Roundtable, hashtag NJCVRT. NJCVRT 1 was on June 4th, 2021. The NJCVRT is an educational roundtable comprised of public officials, medical practitioners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and clergy. The 4 key topics are patient care, health and wellness, business development, and social justice equity. We all convene together to discuss and recommend solutions to these topics. NJCVRT 2 is coming to a device near you. Please contact us if you want to join the discussion. The NJCVRT documentary is coming soon. You can find sizzle reels of the documentary on our social media and YouTube channels. The documentary features, among others, Dashida Dawson, Dupree, Do It All Kelly, Leo Bridgewater, Marissa Sweeney, Tammy Williams, LaQuay Monjuel, and myself. Under New Jersey's adult use cannabis law, the CRC has until August 21st.
You have 30 seconds.
Adult use cannabis program. I applaud the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and its efforts to develop and enforce programs and regulations for the New Jersey cannabis industry that incorporate social justice and equity. It is imperative that social equity also be applied to medical marijuana. Disadvantaged patients who may benefit from medical marijuana may have difficulty affording it and maintain adequate follow-up with a NJMMP physician, diminishing the bona fide doctor-patient relationship. It would be helpful if there were a subsidy program available for disadvantaged people. Thank you.
Ms. Blake, you are on mute, I believe.
I'm sorry. The next person up is Corey Dishman.
Good afternoon to the members of the commission. My name is Corey Dishman. I am a social equity applicant and a representative of the Library of New Jersey. I originally requested to speak, but subsequent to that, I had a hernia injury, which led to a surgery. And I'm currently at the surgeon's office now for a follow-up. So I do apologize. I wasn't expecting to speak. A lot of my questions were answered today, and I do want to take the time to just thank the commission, all the members. Your efforts, I know, have been tireless throughout the process, but I do believe that the public had a misconception. And I know because I've defended you guys publicly on our Instagram page, on our social media, when people were complaining about the time frame and things of that nature. And I said that they've been hand selected to do an enormous task, to complete an enormous task in a short amount of time. And given the circumstances, I just wanted to publicly thank you guys. We greatly appreciate you. And that's pretty much it. Thank you from the library and thank you from myself personally. You guys did a hell of a job, if I'm allowed to say that. And considering that I'm in a surgeon's office right now and holding up the line in the waiting room, I just want to make it clear that I am very thankful for you guys, because this is an opportunity for a brother like me to actually give back to the community the way I've always dreamt of, the way I've always done. And I really just want to build a legacy for my 3 children and all the children that are a part of our community. So thank you guys so much. I'm getting emotional. I'm going to let it go right there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dishman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dishman, and good luck to you.
I am going to call all the names that didn't show up, just to make sure that we gave everybody a chance. Charles Gormley, Charles Williams, Robert Devine, Timothy Riley, Stephen Rogers, Kendall Sankar, Jack Payne, Michelle Molsky, Charles Penn, and Chelsea Duffy. Those are all the names that have been called before. If any of those people are present, we'll take them. Otherwise, we will move on. The next 5 names are Amy Kachalia, Tanisha Woods, Jacob Judge, Kristen Haas, and Carl Burwell Jr., or any of those individuals here. Amy Kachalia, Tanisha Woods, Jacob Judge, Kristen Haas, and Carl Burrow. I see Kristen Haas. I will invite you to speak.
Hi, thank you. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. So first of all, good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on this important day. Also, I just wanted to thank you all for the framework of these cannabis regulations that you introduced today. It boosts my hope in the New Jersey cannabis industry, and it really in the beneficial role that minority-owned small businesses can play here. My name is Kristen Haas, and I'm the founder of the Botanica Boutique in Maplewood. I am a former New Jersey public school teacher, and I'm the executive director of the Maplewood Chamber of Commerce. During the July meeting, I spoke about equity for small businesses, and I'm so excited to see the regulations around equity that you guys announced today. This time, I want to discuss cannabis education. It was brought up a little bit, and just how important that is to developing a successful industry in our state. Currently, my business offers high-quality CBD products and cannabis education to my consumers. When the ability to apply for a license becomes available, which looks like that'll be soon, I'll be applying for a micro business license to create a cannabis delivery service that will educate consumers about cannabis, help them to find high-quality products that will work for their needs, and offer seamless, safe, and discreet product delivery. Once again, as education is a cornerstone of my business, it's part of my mission to develop an understanding by my consumers and the greater community about the benefits of cannabis and the harm done to this country by the war on drugs and the work that we still need to continue to do. Thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you today on this historic day. And thank you for all the work that you've done to make this day happen.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker up will be Amy Kachalia. Amy, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Amy Kachalia. I'm a campaign strategist at the ACLU of New Jersey. While I haven't had the opportunity to review the full text yet, I wanted to provide some initial feedback on the regulations that you all shared. I know that equity has been a massive priority of the Commission, and I so appreciate the work you've all done. And the promise of what was discussed earlier, particularly the inclusion of an equity program that prioritizes individuals from economically disadvantaged areas and people who have been criminalized as part of cannabis prohibition for priority review in the industry, as well as the lower application fees and the protections against predatory agreements. I also recognize, as was said by many of you, that this process is iterative, that equity is always ongoing. And so it is in that spirit that I offer a few recommendations that I hope you will consider as you move forward with the rulemaking process, as these are, time-limited regulations that were adopted today. The first is that I would urge you all to expand the equity program. I think it provides a really great framework, what's been built today, but I hope that in the future there will be further resources provided to people, including access to capital, which people have mentioned as an issue, technical assistance, and just other ways to ensure that people can both start their business and then thrive in the industry going forward. And then the second recommendation I wanted to lift up was to urge you all to provide some guidance to municipalities to ensure that equity and inclusivity are also centered at the local level. As has been raised here in prior meetings, there are municipalities that have imposed very high fees at the local level. And what I don't want to see happen is that the terrific work that the CRC has done gets undercut by a lack of focus on equity at the local level. And so while I know that statutorily you might not be able to create rules for municipalities, I hope that you will use the megaphone that you have as the leaders around cannabis in this state to really set the tone and shape what municipalities will do going forward. And then just the last piece of this is, while community reinvestment hasn't come up, I heard the social equity excise fee get mentioned earlier today. And I realize that's something you're all going to be working on once there's the industry is up and there's funds coming in through that process. But I hope that going forward, that communities that have been most harmed by prohibition, individual members who have been harmed by the criminalization of cannabis are at the table and part of the decision making when you all present your recommendations to the legislature for how this money should be spent. So thank you again for all your work, and we look forward to continuing to work with you on equity and on justice in the cannabis space going forward.
Thank you very much. I see that Charles Gormley is here, so he will be the next up to speak. Go ahead, Mr. Gormley.
Thank you very much, members of the commission. I kept raising and lowering my hand, and maybe I needed to just re-log in. So most importantly, I just want to thank the commission for all of its hard work. I was actually writing a summary of my attempted speed read of the regulations and learned very quickly that this is not a speed read. What I can glean from both the commission comments as well as members of the public statements is I think the commission has succeeded where many, many other jurisdictions have failed by initially recognizing the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as social justice when we're launching this business. And I echo the comments of the commissioners that this is a first step to be followed by revisiting many of these provisions and supplementing them and fleshing them out. I do have concerns about the very groups of folks that you're trying to provide access to the business, whether they will have genuine access to the business, because many, many impediments remain, whether they be, some of the speakers mentioned local level impediments. I've appeared before a number of municipalities that are not going to provide access to this business, no matter what your station in life is. And certainly some of those folks will change their mind over time as well. The density of a regulatory environment that is being created here is in and of itself an impediment, even to those who you're seeking to benefit or seeking to give priority to. And I know that you appreciate that, and any government regulation has that as its central challenge. I think I'd only put one other challenge out to the commission, and that is over the next period of years, as cannabis adult use marketplace becomes a reality in New Jersey, keep an open mind to whether your regulations have benefited the folks that it's intended to benefit, whether a heavy-handed administrative approach or license review process can be made easier by giving extra credit or extra score to certain groups of folks that are interested in participating in this business. And most importantly, I think we're going to have to look at this at today, not in a month or 2 months or even a year or even the 24-month period.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gormley, you have 30 seconds.
We have to look back probably in 5 years and make a really candid evaluation of how did this business shape up and how far off of our dreams and desires was it in that period of time. And I know you folks are committed to assisting in every way you can. And I'll just add my echo, my voice to the chorus of thanks for all your hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will be moving to my next 5. Eli Moser, Brian C. Cooper, Precious Osagie Irasi, Alan Al, and Fred Vicario. That's Eli Moser, Brian C. Cooper, Precious Osagie Irasi, Alan Al, and Fred Vicario. If any of those individuals are present, please raise your hands. I see Brian Cooper. I'm going to invite you to speak on mute and go ahead.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I really appreciate the work that you guys have put in on this effort, especially the pieces of you've put in towards social equity and making sure that this legislation, that the legislation's true intent is going to be met in the rules and the regulations that govern the market. As a Black entrepreneur trying to establish a Black-owned business here in the state of New Jersey, and to work specifically in a Black community to help enrich and empower that community, this is very important for us in general. I did have a few statements that I wanted to make. Specifically, I wanted to ask some questions about the state certification for minorities in terms of that process so that we can get a handle on those things ahead of time before the application process is due. We also thought that it might be useful to put some kind of a timeline / Gantt chart together so we know how the application process is going, so we can plan ahead. Is it 6 months from now the applications will be reviewed, 3 months, 9 months? So we have a bit more information for our own planning, as these issues have already been raised. Trying to retain a consultant is very onerous, it's very expensive, and as people have already mentioned, there is no sliding scale. I have been lucky to put together some contacts within the community that we're trying to establish our business that have helped us, but not all people are going to have access to those connections. And it's important that we, in order to empower the people in these underserved, underrepresented, and marginalized districts, that there needs to be something done. I'm not sure that you can do it at your level, but to help them gain access so that they can actually make a strong application. Also, one of the concerns I had, I know that you're doing for the legacy medicinal market, you're giving them essentially a buy-in to the recreational market, provided that they can establish that they have enough product to continue to service the medical patients of the state. But also from a competitive standpoint, as a Jersey-owned business, we are at a severe disadvantage coming in from companies that are owned by West Coast companies that have had 10 years to produce massive amounts of money, that they are going to be essentially competitors for these fledgling businesses in this state. And if you could take that into consideration when drafting your more permanent rules, it would be helpful to foster a strong economy with the state's own our homegrown cannabis businesses. Also, another issue with the packaging. I'm in total agreement that you need to have child safety at your first and foremost, but given the time and the extreme weather events that we have seen, not just in our area, but across the country and the planet, I would ask that the commission consider rules that allow people to use more environmentally sound materials in their packaging, so that we are not essentially coming from other states. When I've seen plastic is overwhelmingly used because of its ability to be child safe. The problem with it is that plastic ends up in the trash can, which ends up in our landfills.
Dr. Cooper, you have 30 seconds. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm nearly done. So I would just hope that maybe we can talk to others to consider alternatives so that we no longer keep producing plastics that are essentially just headed for landfills. Once again, congratulations to you all. We really appreciate your hard work on this. You guys have done a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper. We're going to Precious Osagie Irasi. You're up next. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. I'm Precious Osagie Irasi. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder at Roll Up Life Inc., a CBD delivery and distribution company. While I really wasn't prepared with most remarks, I will express my excitement. You might not be able to hear it because when I get excited, I get super just in my head, but I believe you guys knocked out the park on the equity side, and I'm actually blown away about the provisions you've made to make it so accessible. Like, just thinking about the things I was thinking about 2 days ago are now obliterated makes me smile. And I know that's going to make a bunch of other people smile. I think now our biggest charge is education. And now we can start to focus on that. We can focus on community reinvestment. There's so much other things now I'm so happy to put my mind to because this large capital barrier has been removed. But I will echo those sentiments that many of my fellow advocates have echoed. And unfortunately, our cities aren't sharing that same sentiment on the equity level. And it's just going to take education. It's going to take some backup reinforcement. It's going to take all of us, our cannabis village, to come and say, hey, this is more preventative than it is progressive. So I'm still going to ingest the 160-page document. I'm still going to ingest the summary, but I am so thrilled because for someone who's been putting together plans for years and just assuming we'll be finding capital of astronomical digits, I'm super pleased. So thank you all for your hard work. I'm excited what's to come next. And yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your comments. Next up will be Charles Penn. Unmute yourself and go ahead, Mr. Penn.
Okay. Am I muted now?
To go. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh yes. I wasn't planning on making a remark just like the last person. I actually just pulled over on a side street to where I used to procure illegal marijuana, and it's kind of exciting to be in a position now to where I can provide it to my community and also education about it in a legal manner. I just wanted to thank you guys a lot for what you did. I'm very excited based off of what I heard today, and I'm looking forward to moving forward and seeing where this can go in this state. I'll admit that for the longest time, I have been wondering why things were moving at the pace they were moving at. But now after this meeting and listening to everything that has been said today, I completely understand why. And I appreciate what you did, especially on the social equity side. Being a brown man, black man myself, I'm happy that there is a space where we can occupy and we have the ability to break into a market that up until this point hasn't, excluded us, but has been very hard to get into. And that's something that I'm also excited about. I just want to thank you once again to echo what everyone else has said. I know that there are a lot of challenges still in front of us, but from the foundation that you have laid, I don't see how any of the obstacles won't be able to be taken care of, overcome. And that's pretty much it. I don't have much more to say other than thank you. We appreciate all of the hard work. Keep it up. And I'm looking forward to growing with the cannabis industry in New Jersey.
Thank you so much for your comment. Please be careful out there. Next speaker is Alan Au. Mr. Au, I will unmute you and then you'll be good to go.
Hey, how are you? My name is Dr. Alan Au. I'm a registered pharmacist, lifelong New Jersey native. I've spoken at a couple of these CRC meetings before. I'm currently the president and founder of a cannabis consulting firm called Plants and Prescriptions. Overall, I just really, again, want to reiterate that sentiment of thanking the entire New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission for your tireless efforts. This is a very thankless job, and I'm sure you guys have gone above and beyond to craft these rules and regulations. So it's much appreciated. I don't have much more input today without going through the full regulations, but I do want to highlight the importance of supporting locally owned and operated businesses and to keep social equity at the forefront of this process, which is everything that you had discussed today. So my only tidbit to throw out there, possibly do a staggered system between licenses so that the class 1 through 4 can get issued first, so that there can be an established supply chain going before the class 5 retailers and class 6 licenses come about. I know a lot of people are interested in the retailer/consumption lounge, but in states like Massachusetts, where the rollout was very spotty as far as supply goes, we want to ensure every piece of this chain is successful in their ventures. And for the people, the minorities, the social equity applicants that put in these applications for class 5 and class 6 can, all the way at the bottom of the supply chain, can have that equal opportunity as well. So I just want to reiterate that. And to the notes on education, I mean, there's so much education that needs to be made to the public. So I encourage everyone on this call to be an advocate, talk to your local communities, talk to your local councilman. And if you need resources, there's so many people that are out there on social media being very vocal about it, because we are all in this together. We're learning together. There's new information coming out together, new science, new research, and that has to remain the priority, right? We want to take a responsible consumption route, an intentional consumption route. And I do highlight that on my Instagram. This is a shameless promotion, of course, but Plants and Prescriptions, documenting intentional consumption, higher education, and really how to integrate cannabis into a normal, casual lifestyle instead of this overshadowing monster that everyone thinks it is. So again, I just want to leave off with a very thank you, congratulations. This is a huge step forward, and I'm really excited to see what the future comes. That's it.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be calling my next, actually, I'm going to start at the top again. Charles Williams, Robert Devine, Timothy Riley, Stephen Rogers, Kendall Sankar, Jack Payne, Michelle Molsky, Chelsea Duffy, Tanisha Woods, Jacob Judge, Carl Burwell, Eli Moser, Fred Vicario. Those are names that were already called. I'm going to move on to the next 5. Justin Payat, Curtis Howard, Dishen Patel, Nick Kay, and Hader Rizvi. Justin Payat, Curtis Howard, Dishen Patel, Nick Kay, and Hader Rizvi. If any of those individuals are here, please raise your hands so that you may be called on. Okay, I'm not seeing any of those names here. Okay, we're going to move on. James Desidiou, Martin Pfaff, Claire Baroxis, Corrine Clusat, and Velvet Howell. If any of those individuals are here, please raise your hand. James Desidiou, Martin Pfaff, Claire Baroxis, Corrine Clusat, and Velvet Howell. See Claire Baroxis here. I'm going to unmute you, and well, you have to unmute yourself, and then you can go ahead. Go ahead, Claire. Claire, we can't hear you. You can go ahead. Claire seems to be having some issues, so I'm going to mute her for the time being and try again. Okay, I'm going to move on. Paul Josephson, Richard Levesque, Noel Walters, Krista Casales, and Gaetano Lardieri. Richard Levesque, Noel Walters, Krista Casales, Gaetano Lareldi, and Moses Sutton. Are any of those individuals here? I see Julie Duffy here. Okay, I'm going to unmute you, and then you are allowed to speak. Okay, that person disappeared. Okay, I'll just keep going. Moses Sutton, Zachary Brown, Gina Wardlow, Cheryl Marie Powell, and Melissa Arnold. Okay, I see Gina Wardlow here. Go ahead. Gina Wardlow disappeared for some reason, but I see Cheryl Marie Powell here, so I will let her go ahead.
Hi, Cheryl Marie Powell's here. Are you able to
go ahead?
Me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi,
ahead, Ms.
everyone. I just
Powell.
wanted to say congratulations to the commission for this important milestone. I think I echo everyone's response with regards to that. I'm a cannabis agricultural and dietary supplement attorney. I've been working on legislative legalization work internationally for at least 6 years now. And I think you did a great job with the regulations. I think that the equity provisions show a tremendous amount of forethought and insight, especially with regards to looking at the disproportionately impacted areas and also putting in the income requirements. So well done on that. I think you clearly have listened to the feedback on the prior CRC calls where people were really concerned about the treatment of micro businesses. I also am a business development manager for CSI Creative Services. We're a screening company. We'd love to partner with the CRC with regards to how to screen to make sure these criteria are met. They are objective criteria for determining equity. And we have our plan in place for supporting if we are selected to do so. So well done. I don't want to take too much of your time. And everything makes sense. Everything is really in line with the feedback of the community, and everything's in line with the legislation and the legislative intent. So well done, and look forward to working with you all.
Thank you very much. Next up will be Gina Wardlow. Ms. Wardlow, go ahead.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I was trying to speak before, I wasn't sure.
Yes,
but
I can hear you. Mhm.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Gina Wardlow. I am a member of Tatika LLC. We're a group of professionals from legal, technology, project management who are pursuing a retail license in New Jersey. And I, again, want to echo the comments of everyone and to thank the CRC on their diligence and their forethought and their work in putting together the regulations, as well as the thoughtfulness of the social equity component. I'm working with a group who intends to apply as a social equity applicant. And we are very, very interested in really the intent and the moving forward of the CRC as far as how do social equity applicants and people of color really enter into this business, into this industry. We have been pursued and, and have had outreach from various nonprofits and other organizations that, want to help us through the process. And as professionals, a group of professionals, we think we are competent and capable of doing this on our own. We're just concerned that social equity applicants such as ourselves, are being pursued for, opportunities for other businesses to make money to help with the application process. And I would just ask that, the CRC, I don't know if this is in your purview or not, but that you would consider that as you move forward with your regulations, that there are people out here who are professionals who have been working in various industries for decades and who are interested in, trying to, move on to develop themselves, their families, their business in this industry. And I just commend the CRC for their intentional, deliberative, efforts in making sure that, the reason why New Jersey is all over the map is because we have highlighted the fact that we care about our social equity applicants. And I just hope that the CRC continues with that thought in the forefront as they move forward through this application, not only the drafting of the applications, but the review of the applications, because oftentimes when people of color are barred from entering industries, it's often because of the application process, the inability or the unwillingness to really get down and to go through the application and put forth your best, presentation for yourself. And so I think someone mentioned about a
Ms.
separate
Wardlow, that was your time, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to call the next 5 names: Melissa Arnold, Bill McKee, Will Rivera, John Lim, and Michael Rodereau. If any of those people are present, please raise your hand. That is Melissa Arnold, Bill McKee, Will Rivera, John Lim, and Michael Rutterow. I don't see any of those people present, so I will move to the next 5. Lawrence Russell, Matt Ackerman, Liana Roman Lozada, Peter A. Brown Jr., and Gabriella Walde. Lawrence Russell, Matt Ackerman, Liana Roman Lozada, Peter A. Brown Jr., Gabriella Wilde. I see Gabriella Wilde here, so she'll be the next speaker. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, thanks.
Okay, super. Well, first off, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the commission. I really appreciate all your time and diligence and willingness to engage the public and stakeholders for feedback. And yes, I would echo our chairperson's comment that this was certainly a Herculean effort. So thank you, many thanks. And I do realize I'm a little late to the game, but until this point, I haven't really felt I had enough information to offer feedback or concerns. My comments today are regarding the initial statute and the framework that are related to a micro business. And while I do appreciate the intention of creating a pathway for entrepreneurs to enter the market, but as I see it, the way the rules are written, they're extremely restrictive and actually inhibit the likelihood of success. You know, again, I've sat in many town meetings and, you know, listened to the comments and the debate on opting in and opting out. And although I wish the towns that were in fact opting in and have opted in to date have opted in to opt out of the black market. But in most cases, the reality is money and jobs. Those are the drivers. And I guess my comments and concerns as they relate to micro businesses are limited in comparison to everything that I've heard during these meetings over the past 6 to 7 months. My concerns specifically are these. Number one, if given the choice of licensing a multi-state operator or a micro business for cultivation, hands down, big canopies are going to win every single day. They're going to be able to produce more flower, which means more income to a municipality. There's no financial incentive, as the statute and rules have been rolled out to date, to award a license to a business that's limited to cultivate a yield based on the number of plants of approximately 1,000 pounds a year. 1,000 versus 10,000, 2%, it's a no-brainer. Number two, jobs are a driver. 10 jobs are not a big enough incentive for a municipality to approve a license to a micro business. 50 jobs versus 10, again, it's a no-brainer and the micro business loses. Micro businesses are limited to operating within a space of 2,500 square feet or less. You can ask any retail operator, regardless of the industry, and they'll tell you the same thing. Parking is critical. And parking ratios are directly related to square footage.
Ms. Wilde, you have 30 seconds.
Okay. The less square footage, the less parking. Potential funding is very, very helpful. Simplified applications, yes. But what we really need, a micro business really needs, is a head start, more flexibility on space, head count, and plant count, the ability for vertical integration on day one, just like other states have, an incentive for municipal ordinance that include a set aside for micro businesses and reasonable caps on fees. Thank you. Please consider these points as you also consider your full power and authority going forward. I know you're not legislators, but I know you do certainly have great authority. And thank you again for considering supplementing or modifying the current framework to give micro businesses a fighting chance. Thanks again.
Thank you. The next speaker up is Paul Josephson. Go ahead, Mr. Josephson.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Thank you very much. This is Paul Josephson. I'm an attorney at the Duane Morris Law Firm. We represent several licensees and applicants, although my comments today are offered simply personally, and I'm going to keep them very short because I know you've got a lot of folks, and frankly, Vice Chair Delgado kind of stole my thunder there. And I just want to commend the commission and its staff for all the hard work it's done to get us to this point. This is very hard work that you all are engaged in. It's hard to get it perfect. I'm sure there are going to be lots of folks who have comments and criticisms about these rules, but I know from the history of this commission and its predecessor that you've done an excellent job of listening to folks who are interested in participating in this space and incorporating that. And I think that's reflected in your work product today. So I want to thank you all. I want to also remind everybody on this call who's listening in and thank the staff for all the hard work that they are doing. The day in, day out of these operations are very time consuming for your staff, and we appreciate their time and dedication and hard work. So thank you, congratulations, and we look forward to working with you on the proposed rules and implementing a fairer and stronger New Jersey through these rules. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call the next 5 names. Charles Latini Jr., Bo Hutch, Bonnie Spencer, Todd Scatini, and Teresa Monroe. Charles Latini Jr., Bo Hutch, Bonnie Spencer, Todd Scatini, and Teresa Monroe. If any of those individuals are here, please raise your hands. I see William Hutch. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. This is Bo Huck from Porzio Governmental Affairs. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you guys all. I know that your current resources are limited, that you had a Herculean task, that you made incredible sacrifices to get to this point. It's a huge milestone. Your personal efforts, your focus on social equity, it's all to be applauded. As always, I do have a few concerns I feel that I need to express. First and foremost, I think it's always imperative to put the patients first. There is still plenty of ambiguity in the medical marketplace, and the release regs are a little sparse on filling in those gaps as far as I can tell. We all know that domestic research in cannabis is imperative, that the clinical registrant permit was intended to spur such research, and that the definition of this permit was expanded in the adult use legislation. As far as I can tell, the regs don't speak to that at all. Second, I think I speak for everyone when I say it would be nice to get an email confirmation for meeting requests and registration for speaking at a CRC meeting. Automated requests are fairly common in government. But beyond that, tremendous work to everybody involved in this. You really, really have gone above and beyond to get things done. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the comment. I'm going to go down the list again. Michael Garrett, Sean Dieterle, Sydney Snow, James Cowell, and John Marchetti. Michael Garrett, Sean Dieterle, Sydney Snow, James Cowell, and John Marchetti. If any of those individuals are here, please raise your hand. Sydney Snow will be the next speaker. Go ahead.
Good afternoon to the whole commission, the executive director, Jeff Brown, and to the entire staff of the CRC. My name is Sydney Snow, and I am the Senior Manager of Government and Community Affairs at Ease Technologies. And I just want to thank you all for your hard work in crafting the regulations for New Jersey's adult use market in such a short amount of time. I know the CRC has worked under extraordinary pressure to get to this moment, and I applaud you for your hard work. Ease is one of the fastest growing companies in the cannabis space. The Ease platform allows adults to obtain legal cannabis products delivered by background check drivers who are employed by a licensed cannabis retailer. Our technology tracks every cannabis product in real time from the moment it leaves the retailer through delivery to the adult consumer. It creates an electronic manifest of every delivery and also takes numerous additional steps to ensure that diversion of product does not occur. This additional service leads to the creation of numerous new well-paying jobs for delivery drivers, case packagers, shift managers, and operational managers. The Ease platform also provides a menu of compliant cannabis products that meets customers' needs and demands. Since 2014, Ease has facilitated over 7 million deliveries with a safety record that far exceeds that of a comparable delivery-based industry. While I haven't had the opportunity to read through the full regulations, we were happy to see that delivery was addressed and look forward to seeing the full set of rules on delivery in the near future. We believe that the delivery language as drafted thus far in the regulations will allow for a safe, reliable, and effective cannabis delivery framework throughout the state. Additionally, we believe that this delivery framework will reduce the need to have cannabis retailers on every corner, while at the same time still allowing all adult residents of the state safe access to the product. The language in the regulations currently strikes the right balance between giving localities control over it and if and where a retailer is located, while at the same time not precluding legal access to cannabis by allowing for delivery. We believe that these components are crucial in order to ensure that New Jersey has a safe, reliable, and effective adult use marketplace. Thank you again for all your hard work over the last 4 months to create a robust cannabis industry in New Jersey. That's all.
Thank you. Our next 5, William Rivera, Jessica Gonzalez, Esquire, Aaron Streeter, Rory Wood, and Mirza Baeg. Are any of those individuals here? William Rivera Jr., Jessica F. Gonzalez, Esquire, Aaron Streeter, Rory Wood, and Mirza Baeg. Jessica Gonzalez will be the next person to speak. Go ahead.
Okay, hello, can everybody hear me?
Hear you.
Okay, awesome. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today and for everything that was done to get us to this point. My name is Jessica Gonzalez. I'm speaking here in my capacity as General Counsel for Minorities for Medical Marijuana. I want to commend the Commission and its leadership for its dedication to ensuring social equity and social justice remain the nucleus of these regulations. I strongly commend the CRC for significantly lowering the application fees, given that access to capital is a huge barrier to entry. I also commend the CRC for creating a formal social equity program that gives equity businesses priority in terms of licensing. I've been advocating for a formal social equity program for over 3 years. So even though it didn't get done legislatively, I'm really happy that the CRC recognized the importance of such a designation for communities. And for that, I really thank you. I would recommend, however, that if there's a tiered priority review system, that equity and minority businesses receive the highest level of priority. My biggest concern is giving the same level of priority to businesses looking to operate in impact zones as equity applicants. Large capitalized companies will target these impact zones, as they already have, specifically to take advantage of this priority. Additionally, in the next iteration of rules, I would propose that the definition of a social equity applicant status be expanded to include race as one of its qualifiers, namely Black, Latino, and Indigenous, as we've seen in Massachusetts, to ensure that we're capturing the demographics that were harmed by criminalization of cannabis. Additionally, I strongly commend the rolling basis non-competitive nature of the application process. Typically in the past, experience with legal cannabis has held more weight. And so I hope that when reviewing applications, non-plant touching experience will be considered heavily as well, to avoid applicants having to partner up with experienced operators in order to have a chance. Additionally, I urge the CRC to ensure that the Office of Minority, Women, Disabled Veteran Cannabis Development is up and running before the release of applications, to ensure social equity applicants have the resources and information necessary to apply. This office specifically designated to carry out such support systems and grants, loans, technical assistance, and access to professional services. Lastly, it's important that applicants receive ample notice before an RFA is issued and that ample time be given to submit applications. Lack of notice and time will only benefit well-capitalized companies. In summary, I'd like to thank Chairwoman Diana and Executive Director Jeff Brown for your tremendous leadership, and the rest of the commissioners for your openness to listen to advocates and including them in the conversation. I look forward to seeing further equity initiatives and being a resource to the commission any way I can. Thank you so much for all your efforts.
Thank you. The next speaker up is Rory Wood.
Hello,
Mr.
can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, all the CRC members. My name is Rory Wood. My question is in regards to funding towards some of these social equity businesses. And the question would be, would some of these funds go towards funding programs or giving grants to individuals in these impact zones who would like to learn how to cultivate or learn how to basically be a bud tender, do extractions, or actually learn the business of cannabis itself so they can start their own business? Because what's going to happen is you're going to have all these cultivation sites, all these retailers, but they're going to need a workforce that are properly trained to work in these areas. So my question also will be how would someone like myself, who's trying to start up a school to teach these individuals, be able to align myself with some of these funds that can actually give grants to these people in these zones that want to learn how to do these work in these certain areas? So I guess I'll just leave it at that. And that was my question, because I feel as though we are talking about giving all this funding to these certain areas for licensing, but we're not talking about some of the trainings that's going to be needed for the workforce that some of these businesses are going to have to make their business successful. So I'll leave that open. I'm actually down here in Camden County, where I'm close to Commissioner Nash. I'm thinking about opening up a school neighboring to Camden, where that is a highly impacted area from, some of the things that have happened in that community in regards to cannabis. So that will be my start, but I would like to eventually work to where I can have a school in South Jersey, Central, and North Jersey to be able to help some of these impacted areas. So once again, thank you for this historic day. I've been following you guys, and you guys just actually, I'm getting goosebumps, because when I was going over this whole thing, I was just blown away how you totally knocked this whole social equity thing out the park. And I just want to say thank you, God bless, and you guys have a great rest of your evening.
So much, Mr. Wood. I'm going to call the next 5 names. Bonnie Spencer, Louis Ureta, Stephanie Thomas, Joanne Zito, and Stephen Justin Williams. That is Bonnie Spencer, Louis Ureta, Stephanie Thomas, Joanne Zito, Stephen Justin Williams. I see Stephanie Thomas here. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Hi, good afternoon. I just wanted to make a comment regarding the 2019 licensing issuance. It really doesn't give a lot of confidence to the new incoming applicants for any of these new adult use licenses to know that there are applicants sitting out there for almost 2 years now. In 3 days, it'll be 2 years that they have been holding real estate, paying rent, and waiting for an answer on their licenses. I would really encourage the commission to make something happen with regard to those licenses. I know a very small handful of applicants who collectively have spent over $1 million in application fees and in ongoing rent payments for properties that they've had to hold during this process, waiting for an answer, not knowing if they'll ever get licensed. So I would really encourage the commission to consider the delays in the 2019 process and how that might affect incoming applicants, especially social equity applicants, as you've heard some of the other commenters saying that they're looking for funding and assistance, and to have people sitting out there waiting for 2 years, paying all kinds of money, significant amounts of money. It's getting a little frustrating for those applicants. That's my comment. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up is Stephen Williams. Mr. Williams, I'm going to allow you to speak. You may go ahead.
Okay, this is Stephen Williams. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, first of all, thank you for hearing me. And again, my congratulations to Ms. Waynow and the commission for a great job. I've been following you all since day one. So this is awesome. It's very monumental. I am an African-American man who unfortunately who have been impacted negatively by the criminal justice system. I have an extended family who has a pending application that's over 2 years old for me to get involved with them and in this industry and to help many of those, as many as I can, who have been impacted in the community and who have been criminalized by this, cannabis usage and selling when it was not legal. My question to you is, how does one follow up with the status of their application, number one? And number two, they want to add me to the application as an officer, but we were a little like on the fence because of my prior record. Our attorney wasn't sure how to proceed. So my question is, again, too, how do we follow up with the status of an application that's been pending since 2 years ago? And also, how would one go about adding, or should we wait till we get the initial approval? Thank you. And how would I find out? How would I, again, I don't know how to, we're at a loss on finding out the status of our application. And should I be added now or waiting to the decision of the application?
Thank you for the comment, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
I'm going to move to the next 5. Smith Acharya, Ed Salzman, Mark Fuentes, Jack Payne, and Amy Quinn. Smith Acharya, Ed Salzman, Mark Fuentes, and Jack Payne. If any of those individuals are here, please raise your hand. I do not see any of those individuals here. I'm going to keep going. Ed Salzman. Mr. Salzman, I will allow you to speak. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon. I just wanted to hop on. As you stated, my name is Ed Salzman, and I represent my company, Smooth Roots, where we have a couple CBD stores in Pennsylvania, right across the street from New Jersey, where a couple of my partners live. And also, we operate a couple small cannabis businesses in Oregon. And while I was listening to this, I just had a couple things to notate. One, I want to really thank everybody all the commission members who've been taking the time to put together all these different regulations in a very short amount of time comparatively to other states who have done similar things. It's a massive undertaking, and from what I'm reading here, the laws look pretty reasonable compared to how a lot of other states seem to go about all this. Now, one thing I just wanted to hit on was I heard somebody say how the large scale operators are gonna just come in and gobble up. Now, that's one of my big main concerns too, but also just one thing about that from our experience, even as a small cannabis business, like in Oregon, what these large scale companies, what they actually do is actually they come in, and what they do is it actually ends up helping the small scale growers a little bit, because what they do is they come in and the quality of their product isn't up to what somebody like myself would purchase, and they have so much of it, and they can't really even sell it because nobody who really knows what they're looking at wants to buy something like that. So we actually turn to the smaller scale growers who take more of a craft and an organic route to their cultivation methods, which ends up benefiting the smaller guys over these larger guys who have significantly more overhead, end up selling their pounds for significantly less. So that is just one thing that I wanted to notate for some people on the call, just, as an industry participant currently. The one thing also with the kind of like Oregon versus—
Mr. Salzman, you have 30 seconds.
Okay. Only 30 seconds. And then also another thing for the lady with ease and how she said that how their company will help, kind of eliminate dispensaries. That to me sounds like it will go in the opposite direction of the economic development in which we're all talking about here and what cannabis is going to bring to the state of New Jersey, and giving people in retail, a lot more jobs than what are currently available, given the limited amount of medical dispensaries, and opening up to the recreational market and having a lot more dispensaries and more economic development. Something like that would do the exact opposite to that. And then also to the lady who brought up the previous applicants in the 2019 session, these are primarily those major multi-state operators who are backed by these millionaire and billionaire investors and publicly funded billion-dollar market cap.
Mr. Salzman, thank you so much for your comment.
For sure.
Mr. Mark Fuentes is going to be the next person to speak. Mr. Fuentes, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Fuentes, and I'm a Latino entrepreneur. I would like to first thank you all for your time today and commend you on a job well done. I'm excited about the opportunities that the CRC is going to create and looking forward to getting involved within the industry. I've paid close attention to the developments within the industry, as well as today's presentation. One thing I did not see was delivery licensing fees, and I'm interested in knowing them, as my goal is to create a distribution/delivery corporation. Can anyone describe how that will work or what the fees will be?
Thank you, Mr. Fuentes. Thank you for joining in. There will be more information posted. So I know we got started a little late and we had some technological issues, but we did note that more specific details on delivery services would be forthcoming. And for anyone who is looking for a breakdown of those fees again, go to our website and take a look at both the summary that we've provided and the 161-page rule is also there, and that has details on the fees that are being established today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fuentes. Next up is Smit Acharya, who just disappeared. I'm not sure why. So I'm going to keep going down the list. Amy Quinn, Ray Persia, Dio Williams, Carlos Aramillo, and Francesca Bonney. Amy Quinn, Ray Persia, Dio Williams, Carlos Jaramillo, and Francesco Bonney. Are any of those individuals here? Please raise your hands. Smit Acharya is here. We'll allow her to speak. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, sorry, can you hear me? I apologize for that.
I can hear you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you to the CRC, and just kind of want to join the chorus and kind of congratulating this group, especially. I think it should be honestly a case study on local administration of rules, and hopefully the learnings here can be translated to other parts of government, both here in New Jersey and generally. Well, to go in, my name is Smit Acharya. I'm a 26-year-old Edison native. I was born and raised in Edison, in this great state, and I'm currently a minority cannabis entrepreneur. I've partnered with BNA Road, the first of its kind cannabis franchisor, and someone relatively new to the space, like many others on the phone. I felt like it provided, some of the benefits and resources to kind of navigate this complex, the wealth, the jobs, and the opportunity local. Wanted to address the CRC in light of today's rules and the ACLU's recommendations yesterday, specifically on two things that I think aren't, in the rules. One is startup capital and potential private funding for social equity applicants, and then other is the hiring requirement that ACLU recommended. First, obviously, there's a clear need for startup capital and funding and resources, like we've heard today. And they recommend a $100 million public fund, which we should definitely support. But just wanted to make everyone aware and the public resources aware that there are private opportunities like Unity Road and other national players that provide social equity applicants, startup capital and resources to help them navigate and fund and kind of lift off for that initial tough period. So definitely wanted to urge the CRC and others to kind of help make those resources available and make everyone aware. And two, even though I know the CRC can't mandate a hiring requirement, we've pledged as a group to take on the hiring requirement recommendation of the ACLU to take a third of our employees from equity applicants. Additionally, we're going to also take their pledge to invest a part of our proceeds and everything in funds, et cetera, to education outreach programs and invest in other micro businesses and other equity entrepreneurs. We're fortunate that we weren't impacted by the war on drugs, but we still think it's part of everyone in the cannabis community here in New Jersey to lift each other up and grow the market for everyone and create inclusive opportunity for everyone. So we're going to make that pledge, and we urge other non-equity applicants to do so as well. So thank you to the CRC again, and we hope to continue this dialogue and hope to prosper and create an inclusive society here together. So thank you for the time.
And thank you. Our next speaker will be Carlos Jaramillo.
Hi everyone. Thanks. Oh man, this is such an exciting moment. I can't even get my words together. As an experienced minority international producer, this moment has been forthcoming. And I mean forthcoming in the fact that as a 2%er in the space, I must say in New Jersey you did well. And the commission, congratulations. It cannot be enough to say that you're looking out for the people, the grassroots people that really took this industry to where it is today. Because if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't know what quality medicine is out there. And again, congratulations. And again, as an experienced producer in an international jurisdiction, I must say, our company and our group is willing and able to navigate, the social equity aspect of what New Jersey is offering. And everyone said everything that made sense. And, some people may feel that they've been left out. But I really think, in speaking for most of the New Jersey applicants on the phone, where, it's time for us to be able to capitalize in an industry. We already see big corporations posting profits, throwing money away, doing different mergers and acquisitions. And so I think New Jersey hit it right by, saying, start with these people that have suffered and brunt and felt the pain from this industry for years. And in doing so, we're showing that we care. And we maybe even be setting standards for other jurisdictions to follow. Because I remember for myself, when I started this whole process over 3 years ago in an international jurisdiction, I was laughed at. And that was a country that I was born in. And I watched international players with big pockets came and laughed at us and didn't think we could do it. So just from experience, this is a great moment. And I'm pretty sure we will see the inclusiveness of the different faces when the license applications hit the street, that we will see a vast majority of minorities from different classes of society. And I'm talking educated people being incarcerated for the product and for the flowers. And it's going to be a beautiful thing, I think, because with the diversity, there's so much different ways that we could approach this business. And there's going to be so many opportunities for us to develop our communities. And one last tidbit, I must say again, because I've done this before, some of the rules, the initial rules and regulations do help social applicants. It's not going to be an easy, no business, is easy because of the different ways that this business started and all the elements that can affect this industry. And again, I must congratulate everyone from the state down to the commission that stuck to what they said. And now it's time to show them that, New Jersey really cares about each and every one of its citizens. Thank you guys. And I look forward to enjoying being part of this industry. And hey, let's keep going and show them that we care about everyone in this great state.
Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. Our next speaker will be Hader Razvi. Hader, go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, Commission. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I wanted to just make one point. I understand that the CRC does not have any power over what the municipalities can do, but since I've been in the process from the beginning, I have noticed that there has been a lot of municipal overreach. They're creating their own rules, they're creating their own regulations, and a whole new set of barriers to entry. I understand the CRC can't physically, can't actually do anything about it, but is there a way that the CRC can at least look at some of these municipalities and what they're doing, whether they're charging $15,000 a year just to operate in their town, to micro businesses or annual licenses, and be able to condemn that at least put a statement out saying that we do not promote this type of practice, because townships already have a way of earning tax revenue through getting 2% of whatever our revenues are, but they're trying to really capitalize on what trying to really cash in on cannabis entrepreneurs. And once we actually do enter the space, there are going to be a whole new set of challenges in terms of getting product, having security, paying our employees, paying all the taxes that come along with just having a cannabis business, and just accounting and legal fees and everything, because everything else does cost more. So I do absolutely appreciate what the CRC has done today. I was getting ready to throw in the towel and walk away and say that I can't do this because of the capital requirements. But after listening to what Commissioner Brown presented, I see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I believe that I can still be in the game. I feel like I can still stay and move forward. And that gives me a lot of hope, and it gives me a lot of excitement to continue to move forward. Outside of that, I wanted to kind of clarify for conditional licenses that do not require site control or municipal approval, which is the route that I plan on going into. What would be the specifications when we have to present a security plan or a community plan? Because since that won't be required on the application. So I look forward to having more clarification on how those conditional licenses and micro businesses applications will look like. But I also look forward to applying, and I want to thank you for all the work that you've done. I really, really am ecstatic, and I'm happy after what I've heard today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Razvi. Madam Chairperson, that is the last of the registered speakers who we have called and were present.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. And thank you to everyone who commented today. This concludes the business that we have before us today. But before we adjourn, I'd like to invite the commissioners to share any closing remarks that they have on the overall comments heard at this afternoon's meeting, and what is to come. So I will start with Commissioner Barker.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm just going to be very brief. Very thankful for all the remarks that we heard. It's very humbling. Really, I would just say to thank yourselves as a public body. You really held us accountable, and sharing your concerns really helped elevate the rules that we put forth. And we know we still have work to do. Even during this meeting, you've already given us homework and guidance for our next steps. And so we look forward to continuing to work with you all together. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Barker. Commissioner Del-Cosa.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'll be short. We've hit a milestone today, and I want to thank again the public. Without your comments and your constructive criticism, this wouldn't have been possible. So thank you so much for your comments, and also to my colleagues at the CRC for all of your hard work. Like Commissioner Baker said, our job here is not done. We'll continue to speak with the public and the stakeholders and continue to have those conversations that are very essential to understand additional issues, what we miss, any gaps where it may seem fit. So there's going to be, still a lot of work ahead, So again, thank you for your comments tonight, and we hope that you continue to stay engaged with the CRC.
Thank you, Commissioner Del-Cid. Commissioner Nash.
I'll be very brief as well. As you can see from the rules, we do listen to you. We encourage you to continue to show up at these meetings, to give us your comments and insight. It helps. As I said, your comments from previous meetings have been interwoven into the rules, and there is a lot of work to be done. We can only get better, and we look forward to continuing to move this along. So thank you for joining us today.
And Vice Chair Delgado. Vice Chair, you've got to unmute that cursed mute button.
Thank you, Chairwoman Wayne. Today's the end of the beginning and tomorrow's a new day. Let's move forward.
Perfect. Well said, well said. I echo my colleagues' gratitude to the public and stakeholders for engaging with us and for bearing with us through a tough and tense 4 months. But I think we have put together a really strong start for this industry and for New Jersey as a whole, really. So I look forward to continuing to work with all of you, engaging with the public as well. So again, if you have questions and didn't quite catch what we were trying to convey today, go to our website. We have a summary on our website of these rules, as well as the rule itself, nj.gov/cannabis. We will also be updating our FAQs to make sure that those questions that we hear about frequently, those get answered. We'll be developing some specific resources and materials that prospective applicants and government officials and the public can all utilize so that everybody understands what's happening and has the right information so that they can make the best decisions on how they move forward. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion to adjourn? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion passes. Again, thank you all for joining us on this momentous day. Thank you for your patience as we overcame some technical challenges on our end. Now, tune into our website for more announcements, more developments. Our next meeting will be in September. Now, due to the ongoing public health crisis, our meetings will continue to be conducted virtually until further notice. And with the time now being 4:50, we are now adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.